Here comes a flagpole with blank eyes.
Big mouthful of olives or something.
Here comes another night of no sleep.
There we go.
Here comes the phone ringing the wrong tone.
Oh, there's the money right there. Oh
Here
my god.
comes a cat and a dog wearing nylons.
You have no idea what you're doing right now.
Here comes a machine gun saying. Here comes bacon burning in the pan. Here comes a voice saying something dull. Here comes a newspaper stuffed with small red birds. Here comes the baked potato in drag.
Ebenezer, Andrew.
Here comes a cunt carrying a torch, a grenade, a deathly love. Here comes a victory carrying one bucket of blood and stunned by and the sheets hang out the windows and the bombers head east, west, north, south. Potato in drag. Get lost, get tossed like salad as all the fish in the sea line up and form one line, one long line, one very long thin line, the longest.
So this is my piece over here. I have two pieces. It's called The Grid Revisited because the first time I attempted this, it was really bad. So I went back and fixed it.
You know, Adrian, just slowly, just play like a C or something, and just slowly do it so you can see what happened. Yeah,
you can do a half step, and then if you go actually all the way closed, you shorten the tube with your hand, like in essence, so it jumps up a partial or goes up a third instead of down a half step.
About the psychological state of being after the trip, about how you're with a bunch of people or animals or organisms, and you need to be, together to survive this harsh landscape. And I kind of have some problems, but you don't want to be left alone to starve to death and die. So
the point of meeting people is that one of them might help me find myself.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's something.
Is that the same length?
I love you.
Yeah.
Now that it is written, though they are the universe in constant motion, my readers cannot stop acting small. They watch the.
We get lost walking past purple mountains. We walk lost, bare at last like the knife, having given, having spitted up like an unexpected olive seed, as the girl at the call service screams over the phone.
My readers cannot stop acting small.
So small. You are the universe
Though
in
they are
ecstatic
the
motion.
universe in constant motion.
The wound is the place where the light enters you. The minute I heard my first love story, not knowing how blind that was, I started looking for you. What you seek is seeking you. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along.
Now that it is written, though they are the universe in constant motion, my readers cannot stop acting small. They watch their boss despise me for being a spoiled white girl. They wait for me to think they understand. Then they kill me and celebrate with boss.
If you could look like more of a miserable bitch, please try.
Also, just the colors and the texture of just traveling are just embossed on my mind. So, like, I tried to get it into this piece with the movement, the color, the texture, just keep it really simple.
That's how you get the scale. The upper one's easy.
Our coyote, the little drawing that I have next to it, is there was a coyote out in the field when I sat and I started drawing it, and I thought that it didn't notice me. And then I realized after I've been drawing it for a while, I'm getting pretty far on this picture, and I'm like, oh, he knows I'm there. So he was just fooling me, but it was a pretty cool moment. But yeah, so that's about it for me. I guess anything else we'll talk about? Keeping it short and sweet.
Trouble is what
advertising
brought
their
us to
aspirin
life.
and also their heroin caused a huge problem throughout China. Opium addicts stopped working, stopped caring for their families, family unity broke down, money started draining out of China towards the opium smugglers. And by the way, there were many domestic opium growers in China too, so young ladies were doing it. The whole country was addicted. At this point, again, Qianlong stopped his reign in 1799, so this is another emperor. We're in the 1730s now, late 30s. I'm sorry, the 1830s. He wrote a letter to the new ruler of England, Queen Victoria. Ironically, Victorianism is known as the most puritanical and moral period of modern English history, and yet Victoria had no issues with the opium trade and export into China. So this was certainly not a problem caused by the British and other Western opium smugglers, but it was definitely exacerbated by it. At this point, China's doors have the Chinese emperor commissioned a man named Lin, now in the process of being carved up by deal with the opium traders and European stop the import of it from Chinese history will never be the same since. And this is a letter that Commissioner Lin wrote to Queen Victoria. Although it's doubtful that she ever read it, he posted it openly to her in Canton and other cities. I quote, "After a long period of commercial intercourse, there appear among the crowd of barbarians," and he's talking about the merchants, "both good persons and bad, unevenly. Consequently, there are those who smuggle opium to seduce the Chinese people and so cause the spread of the poison to all provinces. Such persons who only care to profit themselves and disregard their harm to others are not tolerated by the laws of heaven and are unanimously hated by human beings. His Majesty the Emperor, upon hearing of this, is in a towering rage. He has especially sent me to settle this matter." Michelin goes on to say, "Even though the barbarians may not necessarily intend to do us harm, yet in coveting profit to an extreme, they have no regard for injuring others." He then goes on to make a very Confucian and ethical response, or question, or appeal to Queen Victoria by this little rhetorical trick. "Let us ask, where is your conscience? I have heard that smoking a very strictly forbidden by your country. That's because the harm caused by opium is clearly understood. Since it is not permitted to do harm to your own country, then even less should you let it be passed on to the harm of other countries. Of all that China exports to foreign countries, there's not a single thing which is not beneficial when eaten, or of benefit when used, or of benefit when resold. All are beneficial. Is there a single article from China which has done any harm to foreign countries? Take tea and rhubarb, for example, and this is kind of fun laxative. The Europeans could not go to the bathroom. So Lin says, take tea and rhubarb, for example. The foreign countries cannot get along for a single day without them. Moreover, the woolens of foreign countries cannot be woven unless they obtain Chinese silk. As for other foodstuffs, beginning with candy, ginger, cinnamon, and so forth, and articles for use, beginning with silk, satin, chinaware, and so on, all the things that must be had by foreign countries are innumerable. On the other hand, articles coming from the outside to China can only be used as toys. We can take them or get along without them. Since they are not needed by China, what difficulty would there be if we closed the frontier and stopped the trade? China is here threatening to just end all foreign trade. Nevertheless, our celestial court lets tea, silk, and other goods be shipped without limit and circulated everywhere, without begrudging it in the slightest. This is for no other reason, he concludes, but to share the benefit with the people of the whole world. Now, you can draw your own conclusions. There's a lot to be said and criticized about Lin's letter. Surely China wasn't only doing this out of the goodness of their hearts, because there was a lot of silver to be gained by selling tea around the world. In any case, Western opium merchants resisted any calls to stop the trade, leading to a standoff in Canton where Commissioner Lin brought in Chinese troops. He then mixed it with confiscated tons and tons of opium, dumped many tons worth of fortune, and this leads us into the Bay. 1839, British retaliation. The British sent warships up from Singapore and India into China. They entered not only Canton, but also Shanghai, went up the rivers, engaged in naval warfare, and completely blew the Chinese out of the water, long story short. China was totally humiliated and had no choice but to sign a peace treaty in 1842. They signed it on a British merchant ship. It was one of the terms of the Treaty of Nanjing. China had to give the island of Hong Kong to England. Hong Kong, by the way, was not settled until this opium conflict, because it was during Commissioner Lin's pressures on Canton that the British took their opium and went to the empty island of Hong Kong at that time to form an alternative base where they had more freedom to smuggle opium residents. The British also demanded that people could now live inside the ports. Those people who lived inside the ports, the British demanded, must be given extraterritoriality. That means that if they were not subject to Chinese law, they could break Chinese laws and not be tried in Chinese courts or punished by the Chinese government. If there was any sort of trial to be brought, it would be by foreign law courts under foreign law. And finally, less important, but still pretty predictable, they insisted on favorable import tariffs, a maximum of 5%, so that their goods would be cheaper to Chinese consumers. It has to be said that, again, domestic Chinese production was so abundant already,
in my heart that wants to get out,
even with
but
these
I'm too
provisions,
tough for her. I
foreign
say,
imports into
stay in
China.
there. I'm not going to let anybody see. Blue bird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let her out at night sometimes, when everybody's asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. Then I put her back, but she's singing a little, in there. I haven't quite let her die, and we sleep together like that with our secret pact, and it's nice enough to make a girl weep, but I don't weep, do you? Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. You want to screw up the works. You want to blow my book sales in Europe. There's a blue bird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let her out at night sometimes, when everybody's asleep. There's a blue bird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on her and inhale cigarette smoke, and the whores and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that she's in there. There's a blue bird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for her. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up?
Would be really dangerous. Beginning 400,000 years ago, we got our wish. For reasons unknown, our brain underwent this extraordinary hyperinflation, and we added an entire pound of brain tissue. We went from a 2-pound brain to a 3-pound brain in a very short period of time. Now, on your right, you see a gorilla pelvis. She weighs 200 pounds. She delivers a 3-pound infant. On your left, you see a human female who weighs 100 pounds. She delivers a 7-pound infant. This is a problem. The human female began to deliver the largest brain baby in all of animaldom. Any woman who's birthed a baby knows that the mismatch between the size of the baby's head and the diameter of the birth canal is such a mismatch that it produces a lot of problems delivering birth. There was recently an article in the New York Times that 20% of the women in sub-Saharan Africa are dying in childbirth. So evolution, to solve this problem, and first to try to solve it by getting around by coming up with these clever sleights of hand to thread the baby's head to the eye of the mother's birth canal. And then a catastrophe occurred. Women started to die in childbirth. I want you to think about this for a minute. There's no other animals where women die in childbirth, the females die in childbirth. I mean, humans have the highest female mortality rate delivering babies of any other species. I mean, fortunately, we live in a first world country where this is an extraordinarily rare event, but go out and look at any cemetery prior to the 20th century and look at the dates that women died, and a lot of them died in childbirth. It was a very common occurrence. So you would think, wouldn't you, that we should have gone extinct. I mean, how could we have a species where the healthy young mothers delivering their firstborns are dying along with their babies? So you would think that we would have evolved wider hipped, ineffectually waddling women, or smaller brain babies, or go extinct, none of which occurred. So the solution to the problem that natural selection